The exact origin of the Matrix has long been debated. On this channel, we have discussed several theories to try to explain a particular plot hole in the story. Keeping the humans alive in the Matrix could require more energy than what they can produce for the machines. The story that the machines are using humans as an energy source just doesn't make sense. We previously discussed that humans could have created the Matrix, and the machines were protectors of the system. But what if not? What if the machine's plans are much more Machiavellian? Instead of using us as batteries, they are conducting psychological experiments. Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Before we begin today's video, we would like to announce our first official giveaway for our subscribers. We will be raffling a copy of the Matrix Comics 20th Anniversary Edition, an anthology of all published Matrix comic book stories, some written by the Matrix creators themselves, the Wachowskis. All you have to do to win is be a subscriber to this channel, leave a like on this video, and leave a comment on who is your favorite Matrix character and why. The winner will be announced on August 29th, 2020. Thank you for the support, and enjoy today's video. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. Many of you have commented that the theories of the real world being another simulation and the machines protecting humans are not possible because Animatrix explained what happened in the real world. But there is something that you are not taking into account. The Animatrix story, The Second Renaissance, begins with a woman's voice saying, "Welcome to the Zion Archives. You have selected historical file number 12-1.
Welcome to the Zion Archive. You have selected historical file number 12-1.
The history and information about the war are saved and accessible through a virtual library in Zion. And there lies the problem. Zion is part of the architect's method of control. Part of its repeated cycle is the complete obliteration of the city and its inhabitants, meaning that the humans at the beginning of each new cycle have access to those files. The machines deliberately planted those files. Do you see the problem now? The machines created those files. Therefore, they cannot be reliable. The second source of information regarding the Matrix is the Oracle, who is also a part of the system. As we discussed in a previous video, she is the one that manipulated the humans to keep them under control. For this reason, we are not convinced that the story, as told, is correct. The tale that the humans scorched the sky and then were turned into batteries could be a distorted version of the story created to keep humans ignorant of the studies conducted on them. Which brings us to today's theory. What if this psychological study tries to measure the humans' decision-making and adaptiveness to their environment? The first piece of evidence that could indicate this purpose of the Matrix is the multiple versions of the simulation. The machines would measure how humans react under different conditions. They created a paradise, a nightmare, and other types of simulations to collect data on human behavior. They created different legends and mythologies to observe their choices and decisions. How elements of hope, free will, suffering, and struggle affected their psyche. Just like the machines, scientists designed little paradises to study animal behavior. Take for example, the Universe 25 experiments. Ethologist John B. Calhoun conducted this experiment on rodent behavior in a giant cube-shaped utopia. Calhoun spent years studying the behavior of mice and rats while working for the National Institute of Mental Health, experimenting with the effects of an overpopulation of rodents through an artificial world he called a utopia, a genuine paradisical environment created for the rodents, an ideal temperature maintained in an enclosed space of a few square meters. There was unlimited access to food and water, as well as nesting materials. According to the estimates, 9,500 mice could eat at the same time without any discomfort, and 6,144 mice could consume water without any problems. In this paradise, he placed 4 pairs of mice that took a short period of time to understand the conditions they were in and began to reproduce. Every week, the Squarespace is cleaned, and the doctor made all the necessary safety measures to keep the rodents feeling content. Calhoun called this period of development Phase A. When the first batch of baby mice were born, Phase B began. It is the stage of exponential growth of the population under ideal conditions. The number of mice doubled every 55 days. On the 315th day of the experiment, the population growth rate dropped significantly. Now the number doubled every 145 days, marking the beginning of Phase C. At that time, 600 mice lived in a controlled environment, a hierarchy. Growth began to slow down, and not because of a lack of resources. It was the lack of space. More than 300 males were now competing for dominance and territories, which they could not reproduce without them. A group of rats were segregated, expelled to the center of the cube. Often they became victims of assault. At first, these outcasts were young and didn't have a social role in the rodent society. Under ideal conditions, mice can live a long time, so the elder ones did not give up territory to the younglings. Therefore, they were aggressive towards the new generation born inside the cube. After the expulsion, the males were psychologically broken. They showed less aggression. They were not willing to protect their pregnant females or be a part of the hierarchy. Soon the final stage of the rodent paradise began. Death Phase D, as John Calhoun called it. Unlike the other rodents, these weren't that aggressive. They had very few bruises, scars, or torn fur. The males are the ones who are supposed to demonstrate aggressive behavior, but they refused to fight for the females or territory. They showed no desire to mate. They were passive. Little by little, the rodent utopia disappeared. The whole society destroyed. The creatures stopped reproducing. Science is full of these kind of experiments. Micro-universes where scientists have studied animal behavior. The machines could be similarly studying humans inside the simulation. But why would they do this? The answer is simple. The robot consciousness has not yet reached the level of complexity of the humans. Although they are highly intelligent and calculative, they cannot understand the various nuances of the human psyche. The machines had to create the oracle to understand emotion, yet they remain incomplete. Perhaps the machines are experimenting with humans to improve their intellect. It could explain why the programs in the Matrix seem so human. Programs like Sati and her parents display emotions closer to humans than machines. Maybe they want to replace humans, but don't fully understand them. Remember that the machines wanted to integrate into human society, but the humans responded to their request with hostility. Creating multiple versions of the Matrix may eventually help them understand humans, but they could just be using them as a power source. But do you agree? Are the machines studying humans? Is the history of the war a lie? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.